Hello there, I'm going to show you some good methods to deal with difficult battles in Godless Tactics. Right here we're not facing a difficult battle because your preparation to deal with a suddenly very challenging situation begins long before it happens, because it depends on what you have in your inventory. In particular, it's a great idea to go to a shop sometime and pick up a bunch of the dose items. The dose type item allows you to increase an agent's stats for a battle. While it's going to be expensive to get loads and dose up your whole party to make them powerful just for an individual fight, in a challenging battle, that might be a really good idea. So what we're going to do here is just spend all the resources I currently have on some dose items. We can't get that many, but I'm going to focus on getting the military dose. The military dose is like a tier 2 dose item, in that it increases several stats at once. We've only got enough money to buy a handful of these, but that may be all we need to get through a sudden challenging battle if it comes up. We're going to be looking for 10-star battles. I'm using cheats here to jump around and see what I can do. Here's an example of a 10-star battle, but here the enemy party is only a couple of levels on average higher than me, so the high difficulty is very much based on their numerical advantage. That situation isn't so difficult to deal with normal tactics. I'm looking for something where the enemy's individual agents just outclass us, like this potential battle. It's about the same party size, but they're around 6 levels higher than us on average. That's enough of an advantage that many of our characters simply won't be able to damage enemies, so here's a real difficult situation for us to deal with. The key to this kind of situation is leaning into whichever character has the best damaging potential. With this party, it's my party leader who's the highest level and has good stats, and we're going to use those dose items we bought. Before the fight, I click on Longshot, my leader, and change his inventory so he just has 3 military doses equipped there. If you had a vast supply of dose items, you could give everyone these, but we're going to look at an example where we only have a few, and I'll show you what I think is the best way to do things when you only have a couple of buffs available to dole out. In any challenging battle, you probably want to fight around one of your own bases. This gives you several possible advantages and extra tactics you can use, which we'll look at in this video. To start off with then, we're just going to cluster around the base, and in particular Longshot, who is carrying all of the doses, just needs to use them. Use is just an action you can take after moving. So we use it, and now Longshot's stats are slightly higher, but unlike the stats you get from using Boost, the ones you get from doses will persist into future turns. So now we just keep using more doses. These effects stack, and that's the key to this strategy. We're going to take our most powerful character and stack a load of buffs on them to make them more powerful, hopefully getting them to the point where at least we have one character that can contend with the superior enemies, and then try to use some tactics to just make use of that single character to get through this. Now I've used all 3 of the doses in my inventory, but you don't have to stop there. If you're standing next to one of your own bases, you can double click on it, go into Access Inventory, and then click on Longshot here, or whoever it is you're using, in order to change what they have in their inventory. And we can use this to not only give Longshot a better weapon, as I'm doing here, as I noticed I have one in my inventory I haven't equipped, but we can go to the Items tab and give them more doses. So now we have 3 more turns where we can continue increasing our stats, and those stats will continue to stack up. Obviously the enemy are on the way, so we don't necessarily want to do that, but now we have that option. In particular, because some of these enemies might start damaging our party now, we may just have to see what we can do with the stats we've already given to Longshot. Everyone else is unlikely to be able to do much, but here Longshot can kill that first enemy in 1 hit. That's exactly the sort of thing we're looking for, chances to just take out enemies before they kill our party off, because of course we're going to be extremely vulnerable to being killed in 1 hit as well. With a bit of boosting to increase Longshot's skill a bit further, we can guarantee the kill on that first enemy, and now with Longshot having high stats, it's fine to leave them out in front to aggro in enemy attacks. Everyone else just needs to get out of the way for now. We'll try and keep them out of enemy attack range, just in case they go for them. In this case, Longshot takes this attack from an enemy soldier, it completely misses, and then we do some guaranteed counter damage due to our boosted skill, so this is working quite well. But the enemy have shifted a bit closer now, so I need to keep running away to keep all of my vulnerable party members alive. The other option, of course, would be to go and boost Longshot to make them even more powerful and then throw Longshot out there to do more stuff. But we're going to play this safe. I'm trying to avoid casualties. So what I've done here is move all of my characters out of enemy attack range except for Longshot. Then I cheekily popped another military dose. Longshot takes the only possible attack the enemy can make, and the counter attack kills the guy doing it, so that was good stuff. And of course, because we popped that dose, now we're even more powerful than we were last turn. Unfortunately, we can't kill this synergist in one hit, and that synergist has really good MAC, meaning that synergist might actually be able to kill Longshot, because the only thing I wasn't boosting with those military doses was my MAC stat. So this is a bit of a vulnerability in our plan. There are items you can use to boost MAC specifically though. I realised if I go in for a melee attack using my really powerful Stinger weapon, which is a weapon you get from doing a quest, then I can get the one-hit kill. The risk is that something else might attack me, but the breaker behind that enemy has really low skill by chance, and they're holding a skill debuffing weapon, meaning this is probably safe. We can move up, kill that enemy that might have been a threat to my whole plan, and Longshot is unlikely to be punished for this. Everyone else is still out of enemy attack range, so we're good, and all they do is move in a bit closer. Now it's time for us to really deal some damage. We've got 3 enemies, and they're all going to be in range of my other party members as well. With that in mind, we can start to super utilize the fact that Longshot is overpowered using Sync Watch. First I move Longshot into a position in range of both of these Machinist enemies using the attack action to check that they're both in range. Then we can use Sync Watch. This does nothing at first, but it will allow me to land attacks on both of those enemies this turn, as long as some of my other party members can attack them. So now that's easy enough, but I also want to stay out of attack range of the breaker up at the top. So I need to attack generally from below these enemies, from the lower part of the screen. Here's an example we can take, and by hitting an enemy who is in range of a character who is doing Sync Watch, that character will give an extra attack on top of whatever you did at first. So we've almost killed that enemy with that double attack. Now somebody else can make this free attack. Even this attack that does 0 damage will trigger the Sync Watch. It also triggers even if you miss, so it's fine. You just need to try and attack them, and the Sync Watch will give you some extra damage, presuming your Sync Watching character has been buffed up and is super good at actually dealing damage, like they are in this case. Now we need to land some attacks against the other enemy. That's a bit harder because they're far away. A lot of our party members can't really get close enough. Their chopper can, but the chopper isn't carrying a weapon with enough range to make the attack I want. So I can use the fact I'm near one of my own bases to do an access inventory again, and give them a weapon with longer range. Now they can move to a tile that's out of attack range of the enemy breaker, but they can hit this Machinist. We even get some decent damage there, and then Longshot does a whole bunch of damage with guaranteed chance to hit. And there we go, we've managed to take out 2 enemies using Longshot effectively, but if we didn't use Sync Watch, we would have at best got 1, and probably taken a counter attack which could have killed one of our party members. So we've gotten away with that. Now we just stay out of range of that enemy, and we'll be fine for this turn. This is obviously the most rudimentary use of Sync Watch really, because it can attack any number of times per turn. So if there's more than 2 enemies, you almost certainly want to use a Sync Watch tactic like this in some way to bring them down, even if the battle isn't particularly hard. In this case, the nearby enemy ran away because it realised it couldn't do anything against its only possible target, that being Longshot. And that's perfect for me because it buys me an extra turn of time, and I just popped another dose, so we're getting even more powerful. At this level of buff, it's time to start thinking about just soloing the rest of the battle using Longshot, because they're now so unlikely to take damage and they're able to deal so much damage that we've effectively turned the tables, while at the start all of their characters were so much powerful than our characters that we just couldn't do anything against them. Now we've managed to get one character who is so powerful that the enemy can't do anything against that one character, and that's really all we need. So we're going to start finishing the enemy off here, using a Sync Watch to make things nice and easy again. This will allow me to attack both of these enemies in this turn and make sure we don't take any chance of counter damage. As long as somebody can run up and trigger the sync watch, that is. Looks like we have various options. The enemy can counterattack while you're triggering it, so ideally you want to do something that has no chance of the enemy hitting back, like this bow attack. We outrange the enemy's javelins. We almost killed them, down to 1 health. I could have put a boost on Silent Lee there, using my breaker to make that combo attack actually kill the enemy this time, if I was really paying close attention. In this case, because it's just the one enemy, we don't need to micro that much, and down they go. Now there are only 3 enemies left, and as you might be able to tell, Longshot can basically just take them out at our leisure. It gets easier and easier as you go through the fight, because the high difficulty of the battle massively boosts the amount of experience that Longshot is getting for picking up all these kills. So remember, Longshot was level 10 at the start of the battle. Not only am I effectively 5 levels higher with boosted stats due to the doses, but I'm actually 8 levels higher from experience gained. So I'm massively more powerful with that one character than I was at the start of this fight, meaning that towards the end you really can start to solo. So we can see here we gained 8 levels. No one else did all that much, but that's fine. This battle wasn't for training purposes, it was just trying to survive a 10-star difficulty situation, and we've done it. We even almost got the amount of money we spent on doses back from the resources dropped by defeating those enemies. So seems like a pretty good setup. Nice and overpowered. I'm actually considering making it less overpowered after making this tutorial, because I realized that's a really powerful tactic. So now we're going to look at a different way of doing things. What are some things you can do if you don't have doses, or you don't have time to apply the doses? Here's the most potent one that applies even if the enemy is so powerful you can't possibly overcome them using all of your doses. And that is the strategy known as running away. In any battle, you can withdraw from the fight if you wait a certain number of turns, and then pull all of your agents out of things using a withdraw action near a base. The number of turns it takes for you to be able to do this depends on various factors, and it says here at the top of the screen I need to fight for 9 turns to make retreat possible. In this fight, it's actually a bit of a cop-out, because I'm the attacker in this simulated battle. The enemy doesn't come and attack me at first until the AI detects that I'm not doing anything and suspects I'm going to retreat, and then it comes after me. But by the time it's done that, I actually am able to retreat. So now I'll just demonstrate how to do it in principle. You can use the withdraw agent button in this camp menu to get rid of people who are near the base, and you can use the withdraw action at the end of your moves as well. Once everyone's gone, the retreat button should appear. You click on retreat, and this effectively cancels the battle. Any damage you did to the enemy will persist, and if you took the gorilla perk on your party leader, you get various bonuses for fighting and retreating, so it's more similar to fighting and winning the battle. But in this case we don't have that, so all we've done is cancel that fight, and now we don't have to deal with that 10-star situation. So that's a good way to get out of a surprise battle that you don't really want to try. However, realistically, the enemy will be attacking you if that happens, and you won't be able to just stand there until you can retreat. You'll need to survive until you can retreat. So here's the battle again, only this time we're going to try and do this in a more legitimate fashion. The enemy this time deployed close enough to me that they'll attack right away. And we're going to try and fight normally. We're not going to use a dose item. My party is about 6 levels lower than the enemy, and we have a mix of the first and second tier of equipment. With the enemy's average level being 14 or 15ish, they may have second tier equipment, but will mostly have first tier. So we have slight advantage when it comes to equipment, and a big disadvantage for everything else. We have to survive 8 turns to escape, and it's going to take much less time than that for the enemy to start attacking us. In fact, with 7 turns remaining here, we are already under threat of taking damage with this high skill character coming in, who is pretty likely to land hits against us. So it's time to start trying to think of something to survive for quite a long time actually. The first thing I checked was whether longshots could do anything for us without any doses applied. Even with this small boost, we can't really do much to that incoming duelist, so taking the enemy out before they attack us may not be an option. What works strategically works tactically, so remember the lesson from earlier, it's time to run away. If an enemy attack is probably going to kill one of our party members, let's go cower in the corner and maybe it won't happen. In this case we can quite easily get out of the range of that duelist. So we'll take that and just see what the situation looks like next turn. Maybe it will be a bit better. And I think it is a bit better because now that enemies closer to our party, we have more options, we can do more things against them. However, with lack of damage opportunities, we still need to do this very carefully. Even our most offensive character, Longshot, only has a 40% chance to hit for 7 damage, but we can still use that. We're going to use the power of teamwork, unfortunately to say. First, we pop a sync watch in range of that one enemy, and we're going to use that to make as many attacks against the enemy this turn as we can, and because Longshot has the best attacks, the sync watch will effectively convert the inferior attacks of other characters into those sync watch attacks. That means we can come in and do these completely pointless things I'm checking out there, like a 20% chance for 3 damage, but that would trigger a sync watch, so it's actually a lot better than it looks. Of course, this is helped out by the fact that if we boost Longshot, those sync watch attacks are more likely to actually be useful. I used a switch there to put Big Moon in the middle of our character so that when I use boost, it boosts not only Longshot but a couple of other characters as well. So now Longshot has a bunch of stats. I can make this 0 damage 30% chance hit, and it gets converted into this 7 damage 80% chance hit. That's more like it, and now we can keep going and try to finish this enemy off. I'm using the fact the enemy has a ranged weapon equipped to my advantage. By making these attacks where the enemy can't hit back, the fact they have high stats doesn't matter too much and we're not dying to counter attacks. And we did land another sync watch attack there. And old Mei here, a Machinist, can actually kill the enemy now because duelists tend to be weak against Machinist attacks. So that was good, although now the enemies further up may be able to damage us. In particular, this guy with a powerful weapon, the composite bow, can hit both old Mei and the chopper this turn. So with that in mind, we need both of the characters there on those tiles to have the highest possible skill to increase the chance that the enemy will miss if they make the attack. To achieve this, I'm going to swap the chopper for Silent Lee using a switch action. Since Silent Lee has higher skill already, then I can pop a boost which will also increase old Mei's skill. Old Mei isn't a particularly good character when it comes to receiving bow attacks, in fact it's their main weakness. But I can get this guy to be even stronger using a weapon switch. I can equip a weapon that increases skill in their spare slot, and I can do this right away because we're fighting near one of our own bases. So now I have that Macroplast polearm equipped, which increases skill a fair bit. All I need to do is select Mei and swap that to be the active weapon. This means if they get attacked during the enemy turn, we'll have boosted skill and things are less likely to be bad for us. We've got one character left, and I can make things a little bit safer even more here by doing another switch to get Kicking Cat close to Mei and then popping a boost. The enemy goes for Silent Lee, and they do miss with that nice high damage attack, so it looks like things paid off. Or at least they had a 70% chance of paying off, and we got it. So that's that, but we still have to survive 5 more turns to get out of here, and we're going to run out of sync pretty soon. There's going to be an end to the trickery we can pull to avoid taking damage here. The first thing I thought of was, can I kill that enemy Breaker? Breakers tend to have low health and defense, so while they're very dangerous, you can often just kill them before they attack you. And right here, Longshot, with this Stinger equipped, which is super powerful, we can get a one-hit kill, although it was only 70% chance to happen. And I wasn't willing to take that gamble, so I'm going to use some other characters to do some boosting. Big Moon here will boost that up to 90% because he is the fighter class. And now I'll use this Scout as well. Scouts are always good for boosting because they're not very good for other things, and they do boost a lot of stats. So now we can guaranteed kill that Breaker, and we take the kill. There's another Breaker up there who can now hit Longshot, but that's the Breaker we saw previously who has really low skill and a low skill weapon equipped as well. So they probably won't do much, so we're not going to worry about that. This closer enemy with the composite bow is more of a worry. I noticed he had pretty low Mac, so I can make a Machinist attack with old Mei, and that's got a guaranteed chance to do a load of damage. If I'd actually been paying closer attention, I might have noticed there that I was only 1 speed point away from doing 2 attacks against the enemy. I would have had 14 against the enemy's 7, and it just divides to see how many attacks you get. So if I had done a boost using a duelist, which increases speed and skill, old Mei would have killed that enemy. Instead, because I didn't notice that, we're going to have to do this in a more difficult way. So pay more attention than me, kids, that's the lesson. Going to do a switch and a boost here to make my boost more effective, and now I'm going to send in a stalwart. To make a melee attack I need to use a switch to achieve this as well, not only because attacking in melee will avoid counter damage against this enemy with the bow, but having a stalwart at the front of your formation is just a good idea, so next turn I'll have a nice high defense character out there. Need to watch out for mechanists who are good against stalwarts, but aside from that, this is a decent setup. Now I just need someone else to drop some damage on that fighter to try and stop them attacking me this turn. This is where the real barrel scraping comes in. Because we are simply so much weaker than them, most of our characters can't really do much. We're really looking for the odd point of damage, and because we only have to do 5 points of damage, maybe our remaining characters can achieve that. We don't want to use bows against the enemy because he's got a better bow, and we'll just face situations like that, 0 damage and the enemy might do big damage in return. Instead we want to go into melee, and Bald Paul here can't do any damage in melee because they suck too badly, and when somebody can't really do anything this turn, that's the perfect chance to just boost somebody who can. So now Bald Paul will instead boost up to Chopper, who has better attack, so now he has a decent chance to do a very small amount of damage, but in this case that very small amount is going to be critical. Now we're very close to killing that enemy, and Silent Lee has a sword equipped. Swords do good damage, and she has high enough skill to be able to hit with this. I can also move into a bushes terrain tile, which gives me defense against the enemy's likely counterattacks, because now Silent Lee is kind of at the front. Fortunately, this enemy breaker goes for my stalwart instead, not hitting a number of attacks. Even if all of them had hit, we would have gotten away with that. So that was okay actually. The ordeal isn't over though. We still need to deal with 3 enemy damage dealers right in front of us. My first thought is that I wanted to boost Longshot. I need to move that scout to be just in front of Longshot, but if I did a boost it would only boost one person. So I thought first I'll move Silent Lee to stand on the tile that will soon be adjacent to that scout, hoping to get a future boost out of this as well. And while I'm here I can actually do 6 damage to that Machinist. A duelist with a bow, or perhaps a breaker with a bow, is the perfect counter to a Machinist. So that goes well. Then I've got this inferior duelist who can move up and not do very much, so we decide not to do anything with that. And now I can make the boost I was going for, boosting Longshot primarily, but giving Silent Lee a bit of extra skill just in case she gets attacked, since they're going to be near the front once we're done for this turn. My main goal though is this attack right here. We can one-shot the enemy breaker, and that breaker is their party leader. This means the other characters now get -1 skill, so everything from now on will be safer for us, and that's perfect, especially with that second breaker coming in. That second breaker is going to be restricted by terrain here. On the right, that marsh will slow them down, so they're unlikely to outflank us from that direction, meaning we can kind of block off our party here and get a situation where the enemy don't have many decent attacks they can do. I spent a while checking over the various things I could do, in particular trying to work out which character I should send up to stand next to Longshot, because that will choke point the enemy, meaning that just Longshot and the character I choose will be at the very front and will be vulnerable to attack. I ended up going with the Chopper here because while nobody can kill the Machinist, the Chopper comes closest with some decent skill and attack, so I thought I'll have them at the front for this turn. With only 2 defense, this guy isn't going to be the best choke pointing agent really. The other breaker might just kill them right away with that 22 attack. So we need to be careful here. We don't need to worry too much about the Machinist because breakers tend to have okay max, so while we'll take damage if they attack us, it won't be that much. We'll survive that at least. So now we need to just commit and get the Chopper's skill as high as possible. So all the other characters who won't really be able to do anything this turn might as well do that. That's really one of the keys behind difficult battles. All the characters who can't actually do damage, well, they can still help someone else who can using boosts. So I pop a bunch of boosts. Now the Chopper has +5 skill. We might as well attack this Machinist. We can almost kill this guy if only we had better weapons or another party member to boost our attack or something like that. But that'll have to do for now. However, we get unlucky. Even with all the boosts, the enemy breaker is still able to hit us with 30% chance, and they get that chance. So unfortunately, I failed my mission, which was to do this without losing any party members. In this case, the Chopper is still alive, as you might note. It happened very quickly there. But I actually lost my scout instead, because my party leader has the Dark Pragmatist skill. This means that when someone gets hit, lower level party members will take the damage instead if it's a mortal blow. So we lost a scout instead of a breaker, which in this case is better for the battle going forwards. We've kept a better character. And as we saw there, I immediately counterattacked and took out that enemy. At this stage there are only 4 enemies left and they're kind of spread out, and because we've gained a bunch of experience fighting the enemies so far, it's like I said earlier, towards the end things get easier because your characters actually start to level things out and get closer to the enemy's level of strength. In particular, Longshot right here can just kill this enemy breaker in one hit now easily. Having the Stinger equipped is really helping me in this battle as well. I suppose that's the other key to difficult fights, having at least one character who's really good. That might just mean they're much higher level than everyone else. Maybe they have a better weapon, something they dropped from a quest like the Stinger, or perhaps even a gun. That would be perfect. Using the points of interest, the things you can find on the map, is a good way to find a few unique weapons if you're struggling with that. And yes, if you can get someone who can do the business, then everyone else can use that power of teamwork with boosts, sync watch, and switches to make it happen. And that's part of the fun of Godless Tactics, of course. Anyway, let's just see this one out. At this stage, the enemy are in trouble. Couldn't get the one shot here, but someone else can come in and finish this guy off. With a bit of help from a boost, I can turn this 1 damage into 2 damage, and there we go. Yes, all the other characters really do suck in comparison to Longshot now, but that's okay, we've got enough of them together to do something. Longshot couldn't grab that 1-hit kill on that powerful synergist who I was worried about in one of the previous attempts at this battle. But again, a boost to add 1 to my attack allows me to grab that 1-hit kill. Good stuff. Now there's just 1 enemy left. Gonna take this chance to grab this base. On a high difficulty battle, capturing an enemy base gives you a massive bonus to the amount of resources you get. So we just grabbed a cool 1,000 off that easy move. If I was really desperate for resources, I could even run away from the remaining enemy and try to get their other base somewhere else on the map as well. In this case I get unlucky trying to get the finish, missing a 90% for 9 damage. Making use of a switch there to make a melee attack against this ranged enemy. With 80% chance this time we are lucky, doing 11 damage. Now just need to finish them off. I was unlucky here as well actually. I came in here with a boosted Big Moon. 50% chance to finish this battle right now, and we missed that one as well. Meaning we take some damage, but the enemy's luck isn't that good and their damage isn't that good either, so basically we're fine. Then I move in Mei, again using a Machinist against a Duelist. Since Duelists tend to have not very good max stats, we get the kill right away, and that's a victory. Getting those kills with our other characters at the end there gives them a whole load of experience. You're pretty much guaranteed to get at least 1 level up if you kill a character that's much higher level than you. So that's all good, and we've reached the end of the fight. It wasn't quite the casualty-less fight that I was going for and wanted to show off, but we came pretty close. That strategy I just showed had a 70% chance of working, as we know, so that's that. The content kit can be replaced if I just go back to an AML base and look for a scout in the recruit pool. They might even be higher level by the time I get to the recruit pool, because the recruits are hired at a level that's your party average minus a certain number based on how many HQ upgrades you have. So no need to mourn their passing all that much, that's all I'm saying there. Good stuff then, we've gotten away with that, and what I hope is that you've learned some interesting and useful tactics that you could use yourself in Godless Tactics. I think the game is technically pretty easy if you're really good at it, or if you just have absolutely loads of dose items. In fact, I'm so confident of that after making this, I'm going to go double the price on those dose items or something like that. I'm making this before it comes out, of course, so sorry guys, you won't be quite as OP as me right here. But if you save up your resources and you get some of the higher level dose items, which are way more powerful than that military dose I was using, you can be in the money even for extremely challenging battles. Or if you don't want to, then don't. The game is certainly possible to complete without ever using a dose item, and I can attest to that myself, having done that several times. Anyway, hope this helped. I'll see you out there in the world of Godless Tactics.